Welcome to Tales for the Night. I am your host, Spectre. There's something captivating about water. Its stillness, its reflection of the world above. But in the depths lies something darker, something unseen. Lake Dorchester tells the tale of secrets drowned and sins concealed. A reminder that no matter how deep we try to bury our wrongs, the past is a way of surfacing. As we wade into the dark waters of this story, remember, there's a weight to guilt, and it only grows heavier the longer it's submerged. Prepare yourself for Lake Dorchester. Jack's hands shook as he and Tom dragged the body through the dense woods. The dead weight between them wasn't just physical. It was the crushing guilt of what they'd done. They weren't killers, or at least, that's what Jack kept telling himself. But here they were, slipping through the trees under cover of night, each step dragging them closer to Lake Dorchester, where nothing ever came back. They finally broke through the brush and reached the dock. The lake stretched out before them, a black void that seemed to swallow the stars. A warning echoed in Jack's mind, something an old man in town had said. Nothing comes back from Dorchester, he'd whispered, his voice thick with dread, but it never leaves you empty-handed. Jack glanced at Tom, his voice low and tense. Are we really doing this? Tom's eyes flashed, his jaw clenched. We don't have a choice, Jack. We need to make this disappear. He hauled the body onto the rowboat, pushing off the dock as Jack climbed in beside him. The fog rolled in, thick and heavy, wrapping around them as they rowed into the center of the lake. The silence pressed down on them, broken only by the rhythmic creak of the oars. Jack's heart pounded as he scanned the dark waters, his stomach twisting. Halfway across, a sickly green glow began to pulse beneath the surface. Faint at first, but growing stronger. Jack's breath hitched as the entire lake bathed in the unholy light, distorting their faces into ghostly masks. What? What is that? Tom's voice trembled, his eyes darting around the lake. Jack gripped the oars, his knuckles white. I don't know. Just keep going. We're almost there. But the glow intensified, and Jack felt a presence pressing against his mind, prying into his thoughts. It was as if the lake itself was alive, crawling into his head, pulling at his fears. Then, from the shadows, he heard it, a whisper, faint and insidious, slithering through his mind. A life for a life, it murmured. The price must be paid. Jack's heart raced as he glanced at Tom, who was staring at him with a strange, desperate look. Did you hear that? Jack asked, his voice barely a whisper. Tom's face twisted, his eyes narrowing. We have to give it what it wants, Jack. He muttered, his voice hollow. One of us has to die. Jack shook his head, his pulse thundering in his ears. No, Tom. There has to be another way. But the whispers grew louder, their insistent hiss filling the boat, surrounding them. Tom's expression darkened, and before Jack could react, he lunged, a knife glinting in his hand. Jack's instincts kicked in, and he grabbed Tom's wrist, struggling to keep the blade away. The boat rocked violently as they grappled, each man fighting for control. Jack's mind reeled, torn between betrayal and terror. Tom's eyes were wide, filled with panic, and something else, something darker. Tom, stop. Jack cried, trying to reason with him, but Tom's face was set, his movements frantic. In the struggle, Tom's face seemed to blur, shifting in the eerie green light. Suddenly, he was gone, replaced by the corpse they had come to dispose of. The tarp slid away, revealing the dead man's twisted, bloated face, his eyes glowing with the same sickly green hue that filled the lake. Jack stumbled back, horror flooding his veins as the corpse sat up, its head lolling unnaturally to the side. "A life for a life," it rasped, the words echoing in a hollow, bone-chilling voice. The corpse's eyes locked onto Jack's, filled with accusation and hatred. "You brought me here." Jack's voice cracked as he looked around, desperate. "Tom, where are you?" But there was no answer, only the corpse, its rotting hands reaching out, inching closer. The whispers surged in his mind, urging him to act, to save himself. Jack's vision blurred, his hands trembling as he raised the knife. "Stay back." He screamed, plunging the blade into the corpse's chest. The body convulsed, a grotesque shudder rippling through it, the green light in its eyes flickering. Jack stabbed again and again, desperate to silence the whispers, to end the nightmare. The corpse collapsed, the green light fading. Jack's breath came in ragged gasps as he stared at his hands, slick with blood. His heart pounded, and he tried to steady himself, but the whispers still clawed at his mind. Then, as he looked down at the body, his blood ran cold. The face was changing, morphing back into Tom's. Jack stumbled back, horror filling every inch of him as he realized what he'd done. Tom's lifeless eyes stared up at him, his mouth open in a silent scream, the betrayal frozen on his face. A no. No, no, no. Jack choked, collapsing to his knees, his mind reeling. The lake was calm again, as if mocking him, the green light fading beneath the surface. With shaking hands, he pushed the first body over the edge, watching as it sank into the depths, disappearing into the dark. He turned to Tom's body, his chest aching with grief and regret. "I'm sorry, Tom," he whispered, his voice hollow. He pushed Tom's body into the water, watching it slip beneath the surface, leaving him alone in the silence. The lake was still, but Jack knew it had taken more than a life. It had shattered his soul. The whispers never stopped, replaying that terrible moment, gnawing at his sanity. He was alive, but he was only a shadow of himself, a hollow man lost in a world that had twisted beyond recognition. Lake Dorchester had taken Tom, leaving Jack broken, a vessel of guilt and madness. As we pull ourselves from the dark waters of Lake Dorchester, we see how secrets weigh on the soul, pulling us down like stones. This story reminds us that guilt and regret are anchors, ones that bind us to places we dare not revisit. If we don't face the truth, we risk being swallowed by it. Until next time, keep your waters clear, and remember, what we drown today may resurface tomorrow.